All right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Interviews by Kathleen, where I dive into the fascinating world of authors, publishers, editors, narrators, illustrators, and more. I'm your host, Kathleen Osborne. I am a science fiction romance with aliens author. I have 3 books published. I am also the founder of Transcendent Authors, a group of authors from multiple genres and countries. Together, we write anthologies. But it is my express privilege today to have Roger Williams here. He's in his native country, Jamaica, but he does call New York City home. So, Roger, I'm so excited to have you with us. I wanted to have you tell us a little bit about your background. What drew you into writing?
Okay, I'm from rural Jamaica. Jamaica has 14 parishes. I'm from the parish of Manchester, rural. So I grew up, around animals. I was an animal lover from I was a boy. Sometimes go to school without shoes, that kind of rural area and stuff like that. And I love acting from I was a boy, watching movies and stuff like that. A matter of fact, at 12 years old, I used to show VHS films for a living. So in seventh, yes. So in seventh grade now, my drama teacher discovered my talent and put me in a play, a one-man play. And I graduated in 1996 and I moved to Kingston, the city, the
Uh-huh.
capital.
Yes.
Yes, and I enrolled in a theater and worked for a theater practitioner. I worked as an actor and along with another theater producer. I worked as a stage manager, stage hand, props and everything. And then I migrated to the United States in 2008. But before that, in 2006, I tried my hand at writing with
Ah,
yes, I wrote a commercial for one of the lottery companies in Jamaica and I submitted to them and they said they love it, but they couldn't take it because they're on the contract with the advertising agency. So that was my first um attempt, first stuff
mhm.
that I ever written. Yes,
But that's a great review. Everybody has to face a rejection sometime. And
of
the
course.
fact that it's your very first one and they said they loved it, but they couldn't do it because they were already contracted, that is fabulous to have in
Yes,
your
yes, yes,
repertoire.
yes, yes.
What what kind of writing style would you say that you have?
Okay, so
Um,
oh, finish. Sorry about that.
no, go right ahead. Go.
No, okay, so I grew up in the village where you sit
Hmm.
around on a stone, on a piece of stump, or whatever as a seat, and you listen to the elders in the village tell a story. So I realize that they tell story naturally. They have the right pause, they know when to stop, light the tobacco pipe, wait on you and suspense. So I developed that. Yeah, no, it's timing.
Yes.
Storytelling is really timing, even though we're talking about a different medium here, but it's timing. So that helps me know when to cut to my dialogue, to cut to action. So my style would be like, I write raw.
Hmm.
I write the truth. I don't sugarcoat, even though subtext is good at times and it makes it more entertaining. The fact that I write about critical social issues, I just tell my story raw. And I realize that when readers read my book, they would normally ask me if my stories are true, even though I write fiction. So I would say my storytelling is just raw because I am known for my provocative topics and my step and bunny and dialogues.
Now,
You
which
know,
one? What was your first book?
my first book was a Turnback Blow, a book about animal cruelty.
Hmm.
After I got out of the US Army, I saw a video with a group of people in Jamaica, in a Jamaican village, using a live mongrel dog as bait to capture a crocodile. The crocodile swam in their village, the river ran through the village, so they were genuinely trying to get the crocodile from not eating the children, but they were going about it in a wrong way, using a stray dog as a crocodile bait. And I realized that this is a country that doesn't really it's not the culture to show compassion to animals. So the people they're not exposed to animal compassion. They're exposed to animal cruelty. And even when they think they're doing something good, they're doing something wrong to hurt animals. So I penned a novel about a group of stray animals who enlist the help of a 10-year-old boy. It's a 10-year-old disabled boy to fight against a bunch of animal abusers in their community. And it got a lot of support from people all over the world. Israel, Croatia, England, Canada, all the countries, and it's the leaders of my country did not like the idea of me highlighting because animal cruelty, because no one has ever wrote a book about animal cruelty before. So prior to Turn Back Blow, animal cruelty in my country of Jamaica was seen as inconsequential. So the book started a dialogue and opened a lot of people's eyes to the issue of animal cruelty. That was my first book. In 2013, it was released.
And I know that you wrote another one after that. Again, it was five books. Yeah. But was it your next one about human cruelty?
The next one is a gritty crime novel called Murder for Sale. The topic is about contract killing, poverty, how poverty can influence crime, how in the book shows you like there's two sides of Jamaica. The side that the big heads don't want you to see. It exposes a lot of stuff, corruption in the police force, even though it's a fiction. It shows you that the guns are coming through the wharfs. It shows you that it's a pillion on the bike back that's doing the murders. It's showing you that you have some perverted toxic men in Jamaica that abuse young schoolgirls and children. It highlights a lot of stuff. So for my two books, my country's leaders not really fond of me because I write tough topics. So Murder for Sale, it's about this 25-year-old unemployed young man who lives in the ghetto. In America they call it slum, same thing. But he lives with his sick grandmother. His name is Troy, and he kills people at night. But he does vigilante killing. It's not innocent people. He's going through some stuff and he takes it out. That's the way he also vents. And the book is also showing you that mental health is a serious problem in Jamaica. You have people who can afford to go to a psychiatrist, but some people how they keep it in, what channel they vent that anger on. Anyway, the grandmother is sick. It happens that the grandmother gets worse, and they have no money to do a very expensive operation. So the Aerodon, the drugs lord, went to the guy and said, "Hey, I can pay for your grandmother's surgery, but you have to do something for me." He said, "What?" "You have to take out my number one enemy, a cop." And he refused. But the story goes on to say, with time running out on Troy's grandmother's life, it's going to force him to make a decision that's going to change his life forever. Murder for Sale is very gritty. That's a book that people ask me, is it a real story? But no, it's my imagination, but it's reflecting on life. Police in Jamaica read the book and said it needs to go into the Jamaican prisons to show the murderers that solving your problem with violence is not the issue. And the prison system turned it down. But at the same time, they're saying, it's echoing what's going on in the Jamaican society. This is a country that has over 1,000 murders every year. So,
oh my gosh,
yeah, yeah, it's bad.
That is bad because you're not that big of a country. We have that in a month in some cities here. Because we're such an enormous country. But to think of that and
per capita, a lot of murders per capita.
Yeah. And that, but the fact that it points the finger at both.
Yes.
It points the finger at the law and it points the finger at the whatever you want to call them, the gangsters.
Yes.
It's just both of them are wrong.
It's a very realistic book. That's a book that 3 Hollywood movies borrowed heavily from it, So it's really gritty. It's
Yeah.
really gritty. When I sit and watching these Hollywood movies, and I said, "Oh, that's my scene." They took that scene from Murder for Sale. I know I'm writing realistic stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband was a cop for years, and so when we watch stuff, he says, "That never happened." Then he'd say, "Oh yes, that would happen, but not
Yes.
this." It's really amazing how many people don't know the difference.
True, true.
But if people don't write what it is that they're seeing, what they're feeling, then it has an adverse on society, I believe.
Yes,
we have a responsibility, even as fiction writers.
Yes.
Almost everything I write, whether it's a short story or it's a novel, has some truth in it of life today.
Yeah.
And it may be on another planet, but it still happens.
Yes, yes,
and that way change can be made.
I agree.
And you have said that when we talked before, that your book on the animals, how it has saved how many animals? How many other charities have come to Jamaica and rescued animals there?
Yeah.
Was it 140 some dogs?
Well, what happened is that I have a book called Only Animals Allowed in Heaven.
Yes.
It's about a delinquent boy, delinquent that live on the road, who did something wrong, and he died in the process, and his ghost went to Heaven's Gate. And when he went to Heaven's Gate, he saw two doors, one for humans, one for animals. The humans' doors were closed off, and the animals were open, and the animals were getting in. And he learns that only animals are going into heaven, and God is not letting no human being. And he learns that he has to go back down to earth and save all the helpless animals in the world to save his soul. For his soul. So it's a very intriguing. But within the story, I also highlight the Montego Bay, the stray dog situation in Montego Bay, which is the second city in Jamaica and like the tourist capital of Jamaica. But I did it fictitiously. I used the name Montego Bay fictitiously, but I highlighted a real situation because people say there were a lot of stray dogs on Montego Bay Road. And 3.5 months after Only Animals Allowed in Heaven was released, 144 dogs, stray dogs, were taken up off the street of Montego Bay and sent to Canada by an animal right, by a group of people, animal shelter in Montego Bay. I assume it's collaboration, but I got a lot of congratulations for that, even though I did not have anything to do with per se. But people read my book and know that I highlighted that issue. And I'm an advocate for all animals. And because every book that I write, Kathleen, has an animal loving message. Even the gritty Murder for Sale, I show the importance of rescuing an animal, because the sick grandmother in Murder for Sale, she rescues a puppy whose mother was shot. That was caught in gunfire between police and gunmen, even though you don't see that. That's the backstory of the puppy. But I say that to say this, that no matter the story, no matter the genre, no matter the theme, I always include an animal-loving message for my readers. Readers.
I know that you also are writing a play or a movie.
No, I wrote a short film.
You wrote, okay.
YouTube titled Let's Show Them Love, about HIV/AIDS discrimination and mental health awareness. It's about this young man in a Jamaican village who contracted HIV and locked up himself in his house because he doesn't want to face the people in the village because they discriminate against him. And he his friend has to come up with a strategy how to get him outside of the house. Ironically, Let's Show Them Love was my second writing. After the lottery, I wrote the lottery in 2008. I witnessed a young man in my village who was discriminated against. No one wanted to play a game with him because he had contracted HIV. So I wrote that script, Let's Show Them Love. I shop it to the Minister of Health in Jamaica, and they turn it down. They say they're not going that route. Come back to what I say earlier on. I write raw, I write visceral. So you'll find out that governments who want to sugarcoat stuff will not take on to my writing because it's too visceral for them. It's too rebellious,
Mm-hmm.
too raw. But John Public loves it because John Public knows the truth, appreciate the truth. Politicians will want to highlight the truth. So people can see Let's Show Them Love on YouTube. Now the play that I'm working on is a play called The Stone That the Builder Refused. This is the first product that I worked on. That's not my vision. I didn't conceptualize it. It's an elderly Rastafarian in the village life story. So it's about this 16-year-old boy who, just before he graduates high school, he discovers Rastafarian lifestyle, and his parents are Christian. So the conflict between the Christian and the Rastas, and what route he's going to do. So I produce that. I perform in that. I play the father, the miserable and cantankerous anti-Rasta, the Christian father. I also directed the play. Yes.
Now, is that just off Broadway, or where is that at right now?
No, this is in Jamaica.
Oh, in Jamaica.
Currently in Jamaica. Our next performance will be July 27th.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yes.
That's really exciting. Do you have anybody that's going to film it so that you could show that on YouTube or anything like that?
No, we're not filming it because we're going to take it around and probably play overseas too within the Caribbean and Jamaican diaspora. Okay.
Yeah, that will make changes happen.
Yes.
Just like your book on the animals.
Yes.
There is still so much here in the United States of abuse with animals. And I mean, even we had 2 years ago, I live up in a small community in the mountains in Arizona, and we had a woman that was hoarding animals.
Wow.
And but she thought she was helping them.
Yeah.
But they were dying, they were so ill. It was so sad to see what happened. And some of them can't be rehomed because they have gone somewhat feral.
Yes.
So it's just sad, terribly sad what goes on even in America. But it is something that has to be addressed around the world.
I agree.
You've got a perfect source in what you're witnessing and what you're seeing and what you're able to express so well that it ruffles enough feathers that it gets something done.
Yes. You're talking about ruffled feathers because my latest book, The Boys, the Plants, and the Animals, it's about habitat loss, environmental issues. And since that book came out, I see the Prime Minister of Jamaica talking about bauxite mining, and they're not going to allow people to mine in the hills with the bauxite because it's affecting animal, is going to affect the environment. And what The Boys, the Plants, and the Animals is about, it's about a group of animals and plants in a Jamaican maize forest learn that the Jamaican government has implemented the construction of a major highway, and that highway is going to run through their forest and destroy their home. They enlist the help of a 12-year-old asthmatic orphan boy. Now, how can a 12-year-old boy stop $1 billion highway construction? So he formed a motley crew of animals, including a facetious croaking lizard, tomboy worker bee, and just a set of characters that are just unique, and they have to work together in harmony to stop the government from destroying, from this just disband that Project Highway totally. So since the book release, I mean, we see in the newspaper where the government talking about environment issue, so I think my writing is very effective.
I can absolutely believe that. And talking to you, I haven't had a chance yet, but I want to go in and do a little bit of investigation and see, since you wrote those books, what else has changed. Because I know they are not something that people can just read and feel comfortable.
Yeah.
They have to do something.
Oh, okay. Bear in mind that when you investigate, Jamaica is a place that deals with classism.
Yeah.
So all the work that I put in, they will give credit to some upper class people who own the animal shelter. Because I've never been to a high school, I've never been to a college or university. So who is him to write a book to educate us politicians and upper class about animal abuse? So growing up in Jamaica, even to now as a big man, I've experienced classism, nepotism, and waganism. So you will do your investigation, but they will make it look like it's somebody who owns the animal shelter, do all the work. But luckily, people are following me on social media and know the work that I've put in. And that is why when the 144 dogs were taken off the street of Montego Bay, even though I did not have anything to do with it per se, I got a lot of congratulations because people know how I've been working hard with making videos, writing books, and just raising the awareness and starting the dialogue about animal cruelty in Jamaica. And I can tell you, Kathleen, since 2013 to my first book to now, it has been a change. When I wrote Turn Back Blow, when I first highlighted animal cruelty with my book Turn Back Blow in 2013, I was chastised. People say, oh, you're writing a book to make Jamaica look bad. You're doing this, you're doing that. And people start to mock me by releasing animal cruelty videos with Jamaicans abusing animals. But little they know that what they were doing, they were making the book stronger.
That's right.
So in the long run, I have people who did not believe in me come and confess and said, you opened my eyes. You were right. One lady was like, I used to abuse animals. I used to starve them. And since I read Turn Back Blow, I realized that my mom was telling me that I was wrong, but I did not know that I was wrong. She said, Turn Back Blow opened my eyes. So it started a dialogue. Okay. Turn Back Blow is so powerful that it changed people who didn't even hear about the book. Because somebody read it started a dialogue. By the time it reached the 50th person down the road, they don't know where the conversation is coming from. They only know that animals have rights now. They didn't know about the book.
That's
so
awesome.
It changed people who even did not read the book. So it's a groundbreaking book for animals. And I think God chose me to do what I'm doing.
Oh, I believe that. I absolutely believe that. And when I do investigations, I don't just read the papers.
Yes.
I go deeper because that you cannot believe everything that you read. You have to do some research on
I
them.
know.
Yes. But anyway, I wanted to ask, what is I know it's not about your book, but I want to know, what is your favorite place to go in Jamaica?
My favorite
place that you would like to go in Jamaica?
My favorite place where I would like to go into Jamaica? I don't have a favorite place in Jamaica I would like to go. I'm not really the go-out person, and the favorite place is in the hills. No, let me take that back. The perfect place is in the hills. Let me take that. I have a favorite place. But in the hills, I love nature. Okay. So let me take that. I have a favorite. I like to go in the hills where there's less pollution. Because I'm an environmental person too. I love nature. I love clean air. So I like to just go in the hills and just relax and chill. I'm not so much for tourist destinations and fancy places. I rather nature where I can meditate. I can think up good thoughts, give thanks to the Almighty, and
Yeah,
that,
get close to your muse.
Yes.
Yeah, that's basically what I was trying to get at, was that
Yes.
where do you go to ruminate, to come up with more ideas? And I know you see things on the street, you see things that other people don't, because your eyes have been opened. But there are, everybody has to have a kind of a way of taking that in without ruining ourselves, and being able to share it out so it has the impact. How do you work through that?
Okay, first of all, I don't stimulate ideas. I'm not like a lot of writers who, you have writers who read books to get ideas, watch movies to get ideas, go someplace to meditate to get ideas. I do not do that. I do not move towards, and I do not start right until I get an idea. And my idea normally comes when I don't realize that an idea is there. For example, a lot of people, because only Animal allowed in heaven is the first story in any medium to include a concept where God closed off heaven's gate to all human beings and let animals in. That have never been done. No Hollywood movie, no book, no TV show, no stage play. So people normally ask me, where do you get that idea from, man? God closed off heaven's gate to all human beings and only letting animals in. I've never heard of that concept. So I say that to say that when I got that idea, I was at work with a patient. I do medical assistance. And, I do not medical assistant. I do medical escort, where I bring people to their doctor's appointment. And I brought somebody to a dialysis, and I was out there when he was being dialyzed, and there was a TV in the waiting room, and I saw some war about the Middle East. I don't know if Afghanistan or one of them. And I said, people are killing off each other. For what? For oil, for money, for power, for land? God must be upset. And I was like, if I was God, I would just not let in nobody in heaven. Then I said to myself, but animals are innocent. Why would God not let in animals? They're not the one who causing all these war. It's human beings. So I said, what if God closed off heaven's gate to all human beings and only letting animals in? And right then and there, the idea and title of Only Animals Allowed in Heaven was born. I didn't know when I went to work that day that I was going to get a book. I didn't sit down and say, okay, let me go in the hills to see if I can come up with the idea. I don't do that. Every one of my story comes up when I don't even realize that I'm going to write a book. Yeah. Murder for Sale. I was like, oh my God, what if? Because in life, when somebody kills someone, murders someone, society tends to be sympathetic with the victim's family, parents. No one sympathizes with the perpetrator's family. However, they are a victim as well. They feel it too, because nobody wants to get a call and say your son or your daughter killed somebody or murder some people. So the parents of the terrorist, the parents of the perpetrator, the murderer, they're also they also suffers too. But we live in a society where nobody want to think about that. So I thought outside of the box and said, what if I came up with a story where I show people where the murderer did not want to commit the crime, he was forced to do it, and his family, which would be the sick grandmother, is going through the same thing as if the person who he's supposed to kill. So I like to think outside the box, but I don't stimulate ideas. I just let it come to me naturally.
Well, what's your writing day like? Do you are you a outliner? Do you outline your book and then write it? Do you have a schedule that you keep for writing? Or
okay, so I was trained. My first book had an outline. So I went to a popular film school in New York where I did a screenwriting course where they taught you to do your outline, your sequence list, your beat sheet, and everything that has to do the way the professionals in Hollywood do it. So when I was writing my second book and my third book, I did the outline. But when I was working on the fourth book during the pandemic, which is only animal allowed in heaven, I only had the idea and the first scene. And once I said, you know what, let me write the first scene and see what it's like. And the moment I start the first scene, I did not stop until it was finished, which means when I start a chapter, I had no idea how it's going to finish. And I have no idea what the next chapter is going to be. It's freestyle. And that's how I wrote the last book, the Boys, the Plants, and the Animals. Freestyle. I would encourage a young author to do that because you really have to have a sense of storytelling, be mindful of your page count, because I write my books now in Final Draft in the screenplay software where I can do the 3-act structure. I can know where all my plot points are going to end and start. So you have to watch your page so you don't overwrite. But after I finish with it in Final Draft, I just novelize it and just go straight. So to answer your question, no, I do not really have any outlining or anything. I just write from the top of my head. And I find out that that makes it more organic than when you pre-plan away. Because when I'm writing organic, I discover stuff about my character that I did not have in the outline.
Yeah. I like to call it a discovery. Yes. I write in a discovery attitude. Some people call it a pantser. I write by the seat of my pants because I don't know what I'm going to write till I sit down.
Yeah. You know,
and then it just erupts.
Yes. That's how I write too. You know, because I write on very sensitive topics. I have a romance book called Love Will Survive about this poor one-legged Jamaican Rastafarian boy and a white Catholic girl.
Ooh.
Yes, it's a very, the main theme is interracial relationship. So his dad is a die-hearted Rastafarian who believes in back to Africa and repatriation. And her father, who is a devoted Catholic, does not want her to date this poor black Jamaican guy. And his father doesn't want him to talk to this white Catholic girl because Rastafarian and Catholic, they are island water. They don't mix. Mm-hmm. We grew up in Jamaica where Rastafarians do not like the Pope, especially Pope John Paul. We grew up with that hate. Love and hate. That's why if you look on the book cover for Murder for Sale, it has that 2 coconuts. One looks freshish, like it goes through a lot of struggle, and one dries. One is dried up. So the dried up one represents the hate. And the coconut on the right that has the Rasta band and it looks like it has gone through a lot of stuff represents love. Because sometimes when you go through stuff in life, you may come out looking battered, but you survive.
That's right.
That's why the book is called Love Will Survive. So even the cover of my book can be provocative, can send a visceral image.
And I truly do believe love can survive. I've seen so much in my lifetime, and people think that it dies, but it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Love is the only thing that remains standing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's the only thing that remains standing.
Well, Roger, I want to thank you so much for being here with me today.
No problem.
And
no problem.
I can't wait to talk to you in another year and see what's happened.
No problem.
During that year, because I know that you're going to grow even greater. Your statements are going to move mountains.
Yes.
Because you'll speak to the mountain and it will move.
Yes, definitely. And my objective in life one of is to make it big where I can feed all the stray dogs in the world.
Oh, I'm a dog lover, so you got me.
Yeah, and stray
You got
animals.
me.
Yeah, yeah. That's where my money going to go to stray animals, and
Mhm.
help them to educate leaders, mayors, governors to do something about the stray dogs in their country, in their cities,
Yes.
worldwide,
Yes.
not just Jamaica.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for being here with me and with Roger. And don't forget to check the slides after we sign off, because on there are going to be things that Roger's working on, where you can find his books, so that you can read them yourself, and any upcoming events either one of us have will be on those slides. You can actually pause it and jot it down or rewind it. But thank you for being with us. Until next time.
Thank you, Kathleen, and bye, everybody. Take good care.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure talking to you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.